My name is Derek Dortch. I'm in charge of the Career Center. If you need us, we're here, okay? You've probably been getting emails from me. You're probably tired of getting my emails. Hey, Mr. Dortch just, keeps on emailing me about stuff. But we want to make sure you get the opportunities that are here. We've got an amazing opportunity for you to meet employers. They're hiring for people in cyber, but just not cyber. So I want you to hear me. They're hiring for all majors. It's not just computer science majors. It's business majors, economics, accounting, whatever you're doing. There's a job in this room for you. So the reason why we want you to talk to these employers is because the opportunities are vast, and our job is to prepare you and get them in front of you. We've got a panel today that's going to talk about those things and then go from there. We've got the National Cybersecurity Alliance is the one who sponsored this program and brought it to Fayetteville State University. So I want to give them a round of applause real quick for doing that, kind of going from there. Also, too, I want to give our different employers, Amazon and Trellix and other employers, TIAA and all the other Secret Service and DHS from CISA and everyone else, and Fayetteville Police Department, all the employers, Women in Cybersecurity, FBI back there, all the employers that are here today. We want you to stand up because we want to give you a round of applause real quick as well. Tanium right there. So please stand up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for looking at hiring our students. Paid internships, full-time jobs, and everything else, all great opportunities. So we really do appreciate you being here, not only this time, but we want to have you back later on. I'm not going to delay the program, but I do want to introduce the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Strategic Initiatives, Greg McElveen. He's going to say a couple words on behalf of the Chancellor's Office, and then we're going to get started with the program. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Enjoy today.
Well, good morning, students and faculty and employers. Boy, what a group, and staff. So we are so happy to have you here. My name is Greg McElveen, as Mr. Dortch said. I represent the Chancellor's Office. He's actually going to be here a little bit later. He just can't be here at the beginning. But I'm here because cybersecurity is actually one of the key priorities for this university to help empower our students for success. And as many of you know, there's a big need for cybersecurity all around the world, all around various industries. And whether you're talking about, as we see here, Amazon, we're talking about Department of Homeland Security, or you're talking about even Walmart or your local small business, or ourselves. We all need to be safe and secure in the online environment. So what that means, and you probably have heard this, in our panel, I'm sure we'll discuss this, is there are more opportunities than there are people. Which means, of course, we have some economists in the room, supply and demand, there's more demand than supply, which means wages are up. Lots of opportunities. The average salary, I looked it up on Department of Labor statistics, average salary for someone just a few years out, the cybersecurity field is over $100,000. Entry is up there as well. So it's not all about the money, but there is money. So we want to, and we, university, are here to be sure that we are giving you the opportunity. We encourage you to take advantage of it. And this is really for you. You may not, part of this is you may not say, I'm not a computer science expert. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I can't qualify for this, but you'd be surprised. There are all kinds of opportunities, and it could be marketing, it could be sales. It doesn't have to be behind the computer writing code. So thank you for being here. The Chancellor is really happy that this event is taking place. We are here for you, the students, and thank you, faculty, for being here for the students. And hope you have a great afternoon, and you'll see the Chancellor a little bit later today. Thank you so much for Derek and for our employers.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa. I'm the Executive Director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. We are really excited to be here today. Welcome to See Yourself in Cyber. This is our program for HBCUs to attract more students to careers in cybersecurity, privacy, and risk. And this is what, our fifth, sixth HBCU that we've been to? And we got one more tomorrow. There are currently, as was said, millions of open, somewhere between 2 and 3 million vacant jobs in cybersecurity. And of the people who work in cybersecurity today, only 9% are African American, and we are on a mission to change that. There's a war being fought in cyberspace every day that most of us don't see. Everybody around the edge of this room sees it because they work in security. It threatens our economy. It threatens democracy. It threatens institutions like this, educational institutions who also get attacked. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this event today is that we need you. We need you in that fight, in that good fight. And I don't just mean, we need you as in the supply-demand equation of the fact that there are more jobs than we have people right now, which means that pay and benefits are very competitive. But we need your knowledge and your passion. The only way that cybersecurity and privacy fields are going to be successful in the future is if we can bring together more diverse people with diverse backgrounds, diversity of interests, all those things into the field. For example, we love computer science majors, but like he said, you don't have to be a computer science major. I started in my career in marketing. Cybersecurity, I'm old. Cybersecurity wasn't even a thing when I was coming out of school. There's a place for you in this industry no matter what your major is. Some of the most exciting challenges and innovations going on in cyber right now don't even really have that much to do with technology. It's more about human beings and our interaction with technology. Being on the side of good in this fight can be super, super rewarding. Working in cyber is a job with a really clear sense of mission and purpose, and there's a lot of teamwork in that fight. Every day is different. It can be very exciting. You might be working on the cutting edge of some security tool, some technology that's new, or tracking down a cyber criminal in an investigation, or like me, reminding somebody how to create a strong password working in security education. But what connects everybody in cybersecurity is that we're all here to keep people and our organizations safe, and that sense of purpose is incredibly rewarding. I can speak to that from my personal experience. I want to thank all the sponsors and the exhibitors today: Tanium, TIAA, Amazon, Women in Security, Dell Technologies, Trellix, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the U.S. Secret Service, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, part of DHS, CISA, Fayetteville Police Department, and the Craig Newmark Foundation. Please take a minute to visit with these organizations. All of them but Proofpoint are here today. They are anxious to talk to you, so please take a minute after the speaking portion of the program and have your questions ready. We're going to have a panel discussion. We'll have time for questions, so be ready to go. And now I'd like to introduce Justin Price, our Director of Programs and Special Initiatives at the National Cybersecurity Alliance.
Thank you. Oh, I talk pretty loud, so thank you, Lisa. Like Lisa said, I'm Justin Price. I'm Director of Partnerships and Special Initiatives at the National Cybersecurity Alliance. I'm going to bring up your quote. Why are we here? Why are we here? I'm an HBCU grad, Savannah State University, graduated in 2012, so you can date that. I want to get black kids into cybersecurity. That's my mission. That's my job. That's my whole mission. Whatever I got to do it, however we can achieve it, I want to do it. I created this program because I had a mentor in my life. I have two mentors. One unfortunately passed last year. One is still a very intricate part of my life. And I just got back from Washington, D.C. Yesterday, and I attended a White House event where I was speaking about my program. And one of the things he told me before I went there, he said, keep having the dream and the mission of helping kids getting into this program. And that's my job. That's my mission. We go from school to school, establishing relationships with the Career Services Department. And please, by all means, can we give a round of applause to Derek and his team? Lisa mentioned that 9% make up the workforce. We need to increase that number. There are a ton of opportunities that are out there, not just in technical, it's in non-technical. Lisa mentioned that she isn't the jargon of hats and hoodies that we're trying to, debunk that myth. I'm in partnerships. I got my start that way. In this room, you're gonna find opportunities with these companies that is just not technical. There are non-technical roles out there. Take full advantage of that. I'm not gonna talk long because we have a speaking program, we have exhibitors here that I want you all to meet, and we got food for y'all coming at 12. So I wanna make sure we do everything in good timing. So we're gonna start with our our fireside chat. And this is the part that I want you all to engage and also think of some questions too for these people that are coming on the stage. I want to introduce Sharina, and please don't kill me, Sharina, Jean-Francois.
Hello.
And then also introduce Tony Benson from CISA.
I'm a sophomore here at Fayetteville State. I am majoring in information systems and cybersecurity. So I do have Ms. Benson here, and I'm just gonna do a quick little, introduction for her. So Tony Benson is the chief of the Cybersecurity Defense, Education, and Training Organization at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency. Supporting the Department of Homeland Security, her roles within the organization are to provide strategic vision around training and education to assist in combating security workforce shortage. Prior to working at DHS in 2015, Ms. Benson spent most of her career at the United States Air Force, where she served as a communications officer. She also worked at other U.S. government agencies and provides sector companies as a contractor to support various cyber initiatives. In 2022, Ms. Benson was selected as a SANS Practitioner of the Year. So congratulations, Ms. Benson. So Ms. Benson went to an HBCU like us. She went to Delaware State University, and she also has a master's in the University of Maryland Global Campus and an executive certification at Harvard University. So again, please give a hand for Ms. Benson.
Hey everyone. And I don't know where Justin, he ran out the room because he pronounced her name so bad.
So bad.
But look, he even tried to put the French accent on the end. You guys heard that? He tried though.
He
it was
did.
good though. I would have messed it up too. That's okay.
So first, really quick, how was your day, Ms. Benson?
Sorry, say that again.
How was your day, Ms. Benson?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you to everybody who put this together, NCA, Fayetteville State University. So thank you for having me.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I just gave like a little introduction. It was like a little 2 minutes, a little 2 minutes or whatever. But I know just give an introduction about you. So tell us about yourself. What did you do in school? What school did you go to?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, I went to Delaware State University, go Hornets. It seemed like a long time ago, but HBCU is HBCU love everywhere. So a little bit about myself, I like to play tennis. I didn't say I was good at it, but I do like to play it. I went from basketball to tennis because I have a bad knee now. But that's why I was like, can we sit down when we came up here? Yeah, I got a bad knee. I'm getting old. But I'm also a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. See, we everywhere. I'm telling you, every time I say it, y'all, I'm going to get a whoop in every room. So happy Sisterhood Month to all my sorors out there. Also, I have been, like I said, I worked in the Air Force for several years. And then after that, I called my finding myself years. I got out of the military, had to find myself. And my mom told me to find myself quickly because you can't be without a job. And then I found myself into the federal government as a civilian. So
I love that. Honestly, in terms of sports, I definitely understand. I'm not good at track or soccer, but I like to play it. I like to play it here and there.
there you go.
So in terms of your personal vision, Ms. Benson, what are ways that you curate your own vision, and how would you say students can develop that themselves?
I think one of the things that you really have to think about is what are you passionate about? I know that coming out of college, a lot of times the thought process is how much money can I make? Where can I go to make the most money? And money is important, right? You have to survive, but also have something that you're passionate about. And so when you get out of bed every day, it's not like, man, I got to go to this job. I got to go do this. It's something that you really love to do. I think me personally, one of my purposes, why God put me on this earth is to be able to create pathways for people that look like me and be able to develop and maybe break barriers for people who otherwise wouldn't have gotten opportunities just through exposure. So that's one of the things that's really important to me.
I love that. Because I know we were talking a little bit earlier that we both were in computer science and then we both switched to information systems. So I know like when it comes to like students, we don't even know how to figure out our own major. So it's like figuring out where our mission is definitely something that, you know, takes a little bit of time and effort.
It does, and don't feel the pressure to rush. Computer science, I thought was what I wanted to do, but I do not like programming. It is stressful, and so that was not my ministry. So what I did is I found out what was my thing to do, and I moved on to management information systems, which connected the management side with the IT side, and that was a good blend for me.
I love that. So now we're going to get more into the technical questions or questions that are based for technical students. Now, and I just want to say this, and just to keep this in mind, y'all, keep this in mind when it comes to anything that she says, write it down, because these are going to be things that are going to be specific for your major or your career in general, right? So what are some risks in cybersecurity right now that are good for students to keep in mind so we can get prepared for in the future?
Yeah, so cybersecurity is probably never going to have any shortage of new things that are emerging. Always be, first of all, look at a couple of different news outlets. So make sure that you're looking at newspapers, articles, listening to podcasts, just kind of understanding what the current climate and environment is. I will say a couple of areas in tech that I think everyone should be aware of are obviously cloud. It's not new, but it's something that in Amazon is here. So again, cloud, there's a lot of things around that historically people coming into the industry may not have known because it's not new, but it's newer-ish, I guess, technology. And then also artificial intelligence is something that you hear a lot about, which is really key and important because we want to make sure that when the algorithms are written, that they're written with diverse perspectives in mind. So making sure that we have all types of people in the room for those. And then lastly, I think I've told a couple of you this today. I think the foundation to any of security is really understanding how networks work. You can't secure a network if you don't understand what a network is and how a network functions. So a lot of people like to jump right into cyber, but you really do need to understand the foundations of networking.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So with that being said, how can we as students be competitive in our fields to be able to be one of the most like, I want to say like, I want our FSU students to be like top 10. So what certificates, what programs, what projects should we be working on?
I think there's a blend of things that you can do. One, I'm a big advocate for internships. Internships allow you the opportunity to put what you've learned in school into practice, so that hands-on application of what you've been doing. So internships by any means, of course, paid internships are always the first thing you want to look for, but if you can't get a paid one, even an unpaid internship just to get the experience and make sure you're putting that on your resume. Networking is another thing. Everybody in this room here today is here because they want to be here and they want to help. And so connect on LinkedIn, send messages, even with your classmates, right? Making sure you're staying connected even after your days, after you graduate. But from certifications, so I'm not endorsing any certifications because I'm not allowed to, and that's not what I do. But I will say that, and I'm not just saying this because they're in the room, but I say this all the time. Amazon has a lot of free cybersecurity courses that they offer that you can go and look at. Cybrary is another good one. There's a program a friend of mine runs at SANS, which is SANS, not SAND. So SANS, SANS HBCU. They also have a program there that if you sign up with your FSU account, you'll be able to get free cybersecurity training and also potentially get a certificate at the end of that. So again, those are things that you should do to really kind of set yourself apart. Go get certifications while you're in school. Try to find as many free things as you can, because there's a lot of free things out there. A lot of the big tech companies have a lot of free cybersecurity training. And then also even on our CISA.gov website, we have pointers to different free opportunities and training.
That's great. So emphasis on the free, you know?
Free. I know.
Please.
Hey, I know how it is. Free 99 when you're in college. Everything that's free is good. So I know.
All right. So thank you so much, Ms. Benson. So we're going to open the floor up for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, someone's going to be walking around with a mic to help you answer them.
We have a young person over here. I don't know people's pronouns, so I've tried to stop saying he and she. So, okay, if you want, can you stand and say what your name is too, please, and your major? Okay, hi, Deja. So I'm gonna be honest. I did. It wasn't Google back then, but I'm not about to date myself and tell you what search engine I use. So I Googled. I Googled what careers will be lucrative in the next 20 years, right? And so IT at the time, it wasn't cyber, but IT at the time is what came up. And I was like, I think I could do that. I like computers. My little dial up. I like computers. Y'all don't even know what dial up is. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. We couldn't get it fast back then. But I did that, and then once I got into the major, I was like, oh, this is something that I really like. And as it's morphed into cyber, I really like it because it talks about the protections around it. So,
Have any advice for somebody that isn't like too confident in it? Because, you know, I know my stuff, but sometimes I can have a little less confidence in actually doing the work. So do you have any advice for that?
you know, one of the things I will say, and one of the organizations is in the room today, WiCyS. I think it's really good if you can join an organization because you'll be surrounded. So especially for women, one of the things that, you know, studies have been put out that as women, we tend to feel like we have to have every single qualification before we even apply for a job. Men will go in and be like, I'll learn it when I get there. You know what I mean? It's just a different level of how we look at things. And so organizations like WiCyS, and there's several organizations out there. It builds you a community of people that can help you and shared experiences and mentors. I highly recommend having a mentor to kind of help as well. But confidence just comes with practice at the end of the day. So you'll get there. Don't always know that you're the best thing that walked in the room when you walk in the room.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name's Alexander Francois. All right.
All right, cousins. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe. I'm studying intelligence studies now. I'm active duty military. So it's a two-part question for yourself. One, how long did you do in the military, and what was that transition like outside?
So I was in the military for 7.5 years, United States Air Force. It was great. I will say that I think the military taught me more about leadership in that short amount of time than any leadership courses, even the Harvard course that I took could teach me. It was phenomenal for that, for the structure. Transitioning was interesting. There was a time when they were doing force shaping, and I actually volunteered to get out. But the military in the transition process was good. There's a couple of little tidbits that we've been given to people as they transition. Obviously, use all the resources that you get coming out of the military, your GI Bill, but just making sure that before you get out, you set yourself up for success. The military has a lot of transitioning programs like Skill Bridge and other things that you can utilize to help pivot into the private sector and what you want to do. So use all of the resources, not some, but all of the resources that are provided to you. I was so worried about just getting out that I didn't do nothing. I was just ready to go. Where did all that sign so I can leave? But that's not the way to do it. You know, I'm telling you to not be like me, but be better than me. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Just make sure that you leverage all of those things at your career development services centers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm a junior computer science major. Right, so I know that TikTok has been in the news lately in regard to how it's not recommended, due to security concerns. And actually, I myself recently had my Facebook account stolen. So, so my question is, what are your thoughts on social media and how that relates to security?
Social media is bad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Just joking. So I think just like any and everything, social media from a user perspective can be a very great thing for communicating and network, but it also can be used for nefarious action, right? So in the wrong hands of the wrong people. I will say something that is not geared toward what your question is, but since you brought up social media, it gives me a chance to be Auntie Tony and share that I didn't have the problems of social media when I was in school. I'm sure there's a picture somewhere that I'm gonna say is not me in it, and people are gonna believe it because it was fuzzy anyway and it was poor quality. But you all don't necessarily have that luxury. Your lives can be or tend to be lived on social media. Just be cognizant that those things follow you. And I'm not trying to preach at you. I'm just trying to help you prepare yourself. So understand that those things follow you. There's a digital footprint. Hiring managers do go out and look at social media to see the holistic person, not the person that came in for the interview. So just make sure that you're thinking about that when you're posting it and the things you post and or tagged in. I do think from a security standpoint, though, our director, Jenny Sturley, was just talking about this, that companies need to do their part up front in making sure that it's that software or anything has the security protections in it up front. And I think that we have to do a better job as an industry securing those things and making sure that before we put a product out, we've done all that we can do, our due diligence, to ensure that they are safe for use and consumption.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have one more question.
Right here. He's right in the next row.
And that'll be the last one.
My name is Josh. I'm a freshman. I major in biology right now. And I just wanted to ask, after you complete those cybersecurity classes that you recommended for us, like, what can you do with that?
Yeah, so I highly recommend even your coursework that you do in school, make sure you learn how to annotate that on your resume. There's something out there called the NICE framework. It's NICE framework. And that framework breaks down the knowledge, skills, and abilities you need for specific cybersecurity careers. Use your coursework, match that to the language it says, and write your resume according to that. So it's already giving you the language that hiring managers or companies are looking for, and you don't have to guess. You just correlate the two. Same thing with certifications. Make sure you keep them updated. But as you gain that knowledge and experience, ensure you put that and keep your resumes updated on all the different sites you may have them on. You're welcome.
And I'm gonna actually just kind of I'm gonna go on a little bit with his question for the students that don't necessarily know about cybersecurity and their roles. So what type of roles can students look for after completing certain courses and doing projects?
Yeah, the NICE framework can help with that. We have something called a cybersecurity pathways tool on our website too, that's like, hey, I want to be a penetration tester. And then it walks you through kind of the skills and abilities you want to have to be able to do that. So again, no one's expecting you to have everything coming out of school, but the more experience you have, even if it's something that you did at home, your own home labs, be able to speak to those things. And that's a great opportunity for you to keep your resume updated.
Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank you so much, Shireen.
Perfect, thank you. A great fireside chat that we began with. So you heard from government, right? And so now let's hear from sort of the industry of what recruiters are looking for, right? So let me introduce our next speaker, Lydia Arment, Talent Acquisition Advisor, Early Talent Recruiter. Graduated from the University of North Florida in 2015 with a Bachelor's of Business Administration, has been with TIAA since October 2017, and is based in Jackson, Florida. She has the pleasure of recruiting top talent for our client services and technology, digital and client experience internship programs, and technical associate rotational program. TIAA is big enough that they can offer world-class training and mentoring but we're small enough that we can provide direct access to leadership. Can I keep going? Got it. Our new graduates learn and get exposed to far more than they ever would in other companies. As a recruiter, I take pride in discovering exceptional new talent and giving them the opportunity to succeed in the financial industry. I have a passion for TIAA's mission to serve those who serve others. And knowing my efforts positively impacts people's lives keep me going every day. Ladies and gentlemen, Lydia Armin.
Hi, everyone. Well, I'm really excited to be here today to share just a little bit about how do you prepare yourself to land that first internship? What do you need to do for your resume, your LinkedIn profile? How do you prepare yourself for that first conversation with the recruiter? So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking through those 3 topics, and I want to make this as interactive as possible, so I definitely want to hear from the crowd. So if you don't mind, if you take out your phone right here and just scan that code. And then our first question is going to be, what do you think a recruiter is looking for on a resume? And Riley's going to bring my code up here in just a second. And no wrong answers here. So think about maybe what is lacking on your resume, maybe what you've been thinking about wanting to add to your resume. And then we will see those populate up on the screen. And then we'll talk through just a little bit about what am I looking for on a resume. Every recruiter is going to be a little bit different, but these are just going to be some best practices to really get you started. Some things that I'm looking for is your experience at the top? Is your education at the top? Do you have your intended graduation date? Do you have your major? There's some very basic things that sometimes people just leave out on a resume, so don't miss those important points. Again, looking at your skills, are they aligned to the job? Experience. So do you have any past internships? Please make sure those are on your resume. Do you have any projects that you've done in your classes that you were able to apply your skills to? Those are also relevant information. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to have an internship before, so please put those projects that you're doing in classes. I know sometimes I see resumes where people will list their courses. I personally would not recommend that. Again, every recruiter is going to have a little bit of a different opinion because you guys are all, if you're all a computer science major, you're all taking really similar courses, but what are you doing inside those courses? How are you telling that story on your resume? A personal statement. So I love seeing a personal statement at the top of a resume. Just helps me paint a better picture of who you are. I have one piece of paper to find out who you are. Use that whole piece of paper. Talk about what are you passionate about? Are you a first generation college student aspiring to break into cybersecurity? Those are things that I need to know about you. Clubs, are you involved in any clubs? Again, experience you can add to your resume if you haven't had any actual internships. Volunteerism. TIAA is a very mission-driven organization, so someone that volunteers, I love to see those types of things. What are you doing out inside your community? How are you filling your time and how are you filling that productively? Awards recognitions, of course, please add those. Internships, keep those up to date. I think our speaker just said that as well, making sure that once you complete an internship, you're not sitting down a year later trying to remember what you did last year and all the people that you met. So keep that up to date as much as possible. School templates, I know a lot of schools have templates. There's a tons of templates online. So don't just limit yourself to that. Find a template that fits your major, what you are trying to display to the recruiter. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We'll forego the QR code because we're running technical difficulties with that. But so what do you think a recruiter cares most about on your LinkedIn page? So your LinkedIn page should be a profile or extension of your resume. So again, you only had one page to shoot your shot to the recruiter. Now you've got that LinkedIn to talk a little bit more about you. You have 2 paragraphs in the about section that you could probably fit in. Again, a little bit more about who you are. What are you aspiring to be? What do you bring to the table? What are you passionate about? Again, helping me understand who you are. Keep that up to date. Keep that up to date just like your resume. It's a running list of all the things that you've accomplished, all the things that you have, all the internships that you have taken part of or projects that you've participated in. Professional photo. I'm pretty sure they're doing headshots on the other side of this wall, so pop in there, get that done. If you don't have the opportunity to do a professional headshot, that's completely fine. Have your friend take a picture of you up against a blank wall, put a blazer on, do your hair and makeup that day, whatever it is, and have them take a picture. I love to see a photo on a LinkedIn page, again, helping me understand more about who you are. Couple people came up to my table today and got my LinkedIn. I'm now in your network. So now if you post something, I'm going to see what you have accomplished. So use your LinkedIn as your way to keep your network close to you, and then share with your network what you have accomplished. And again, to stay connected with them, because it's the easiest way to do it these days is you have a whole list of people that you can go in, you can message, find a mentor that way as well. Let's see. Yep. And then follow companies of interest as well. So that's something that I'll look at on your page, is just maybe what are you interested in? What influential companies are you following? Things like that. Again, helping me just understand more about who you are. Okay. And then final point is, how are you going to nail that recruiting conversation? So you're going to have your resume ready, you're going to have your LinkedIn ready, you're going to submit your application. I'm going to set a time with you, and we're going to have that first initial call. How do you prepare yourself? What are you going to do? So, few tips that I can give you. Know your elevator pitch. So, I will probably call you and say, how did you hear about TIAA? Tell me a little bit about yourself. That is your first moment to make your first impression on me. Think of 2 to 3 things that you want me to know. Put that in your elevator pitch. And practice that elevator pitch. You can practice that elevator pitch just coming in to talk to people at a career fair. And again, how can you tailor that pitch to the particular job that you're interested in? So think about those types of things. Research the company. You should never be in a conversation with a recruiter if you've never Googled the company. We all have access to Google. Take a look at the company website, and maybe not just what they do, but actually who they are. It's really important when you're looking at companies, internships or full-time opportunities, that you have, or you find a company that aligns to your personal values and your personal mission. That is why I love TIAA. We serve those who serve others, and I'm passionate about giving back. And again, it will keep you at an organization longer. It'll make some of the day-to-day a little bit easier. At the end of the day, feeling fulfilled about what you're doing. Practice and prepare examples. Have your friend give you interview questions. There's interview questions on Google as well that you can grab. They're probably going to ask you about a time you worked in a team. How did you collaborate with others? Know your resume front to back. Have a project example off the top of your head that you want to share. That you maybe worked in a team of 5 people and you took a lead on that project. So think about those. Again, every interview is going to have a similar type of question. So there are ways to prepare for those, even if you don't know the exact questions. Well thought out questions for your recruiter. So we're going to get to the end of the conversation. I'm going to ask you, do you have any questions for me? The worst thing is when one says, nope, I'm good, and you're just like, okay, well, maybe you weren't that interested in this role, or maybe you're not that interested in TIAA. There's so many things you can ask me. What's your experience at TIAA? How's the culture at TIAA? How did you get where you are today? So think about those things. Never just end a conversation with, no, I don't have any questions, because there's always questions to be asked. Email follow-up also is really great to get into kind of your routine. Every time you have a conversation with a recruiter, send a thank you note. We have hundreds of conversations with students, so it's always great to just get that thank you for taking the time out of your day. Most importantly, be yourself. Don't worry about saying the wrong thing in an interview, especially at TIAA. We want you to show up as who you are. So keep that in mind. After all these things that I said, be yourself. Take a few deep breaths before the conversation, and you'll be fine.
Get the stage set up for the panel, but
So we have a special guest. Your Chancellor of Fayetteville State University wants to make a few remarks.
Great. Not only to our students, but no, we good. Not only to our students, but we're so happy to see these employers around the room. Can we get a hand clap on that? Okay. So let me tell you why I wanted to cut out some time to be here. I really truly appreciate Justin, your team, and you all. Now, is this the first time? Hopefully, ain't the last time, right? Because let me just say to you, I can't speak for the other 102, 101 HBCUs in the nation. But here at Fayetteville State University, we're serious. We're serious. And it's 2 points, and I'm glad our employers are here. So it's 2 points. You have a chance to hear. We're not just talking about diplomas. That's not our goal. We're going to get. We know we can do that, and we're going to do that a really great job. 4 years or less here. But for our checker mark, it is employment. So we are redesigning, as you have already engaged Derek Deutsch and the team here, FSU Career Services. I was just with our deans, our 4 deans of colleges, just this morning. So the paid internship pathway to employment is really we're really serious about that. In fact, it is part of the academic experience here at Fayetteville State University. That's number one. Number two, and I know that many employers, and Justin, you all tour and you set ground at a number of campuses here, but there's another thing you need to know, and that is that this fall we'll have cybersecurity as a 4-year program. Now, what's important in that is we're part of the UNC system. So we got the Carolinas, the A&T, and State, Appalachian State, Winston-Salem State University. North Carolina does have the most 4-year public HBCUs in the nation, right? But this is what you need to know, that we'll be the 3rd institution in the entire UNC system, 16 schools, that will have BS in cybersecurity, 4-year. The first HBCU. And in addition to that, and students, you'll find out more. In addition to that, because I know you all have been connected, we're not just talking about a degree in cybersecurity, but with our students, they're going to have certifications with their cybersecurity. SAP, we have that here, 10-mile radius, and we have the cybersecurity certification program, up to eight or so certifications. So we are serious employers. We're serious. You can travel to the other 49 states if you want to. You don't need to. Save your gas mileage. Save your plane. We're serious. We're locked in because we know that it's not just about getting a diploma. It is workforce, and we've got the kind of talent here at Fayetteville State University that they're starting out with salaries that I would have dreamt of here, and we got the talent, we got the ability. We're a leader in the nation, as you may have heard. We're the leader in the nation, again, among all HBCUs with the type of military connected students. How many military connected students do we have sitting down here? Let me tell you what's powerful about that. So we're the leader in the nation. 2,100 of them are on this campus. Crickets and frogs. 2,100 of nearly 7,000 students, military connected students, on this campus. We lead the nation in that among all HBCUs. And we lead the system. So that 30% of our student population are military connected students. Veteran, active duty, reservist, spouse, dependent. So employers, Justin and team, students, we're all in. The chancellor, administration, we're all in. We don't just want to see you here as a student. We want you making that top dollar and making an impact. This is a real serious area. Cybersecurity it's unbelievable in terms of the demand and the need to have great talent in these key positions and fields so that our nation will be safe. I've got 2 girls, 17 and 13. I'm counting on y'all, right? I'm counting on y'all to make sure that when they get my age, they'll be safe and secure, and it will be because of you. So we're all in. Again, I thank you. Whatever you all need from us, we're customization. We're not generalization. So I mean it. I want you coming back another time and multiple times if you need to, because we're all in. So whatever we can do to have that custom fit to make it worth y'all while to come park with us for a while. And we do good food too. I don't know if you've been to the calf, but you need to get there. We do what we need to do. The good Southern hospitality. But students, I'm so proud of you. We're doing all we can. Let us know how we can do better. Thank you for taking the time to be here. To our faculty, thank you for getting this. Thank you for getting this, that it's not just about the academics, but making that connection here. And again, can't tell you how proud we are for all of you all to be here in the room here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Executive Director. Thank you, boss lady. All right, push.
Thank you for having us here. And we have been super impressed with the professionalism of the faculty, the staff, and the students. I commend all of you. And for those of you that are students here, you made a great choice in the university that you chose. So now I want to bring our panelists up. I think they're all backstage here. If you guys can take a seat on stage, please. We'll start our panel discussion. And again, students, have your questions ready. So we have Wes Snell from Amazon, Alex Freshley from TIAA, Tim Rigg from Dell, and Tony Benson again from CISA.
All right. My name is Tim Rigg, and I've been at Dell for 5 years. I'm the Vice President of Global Security Operations. And probably the easiest way to describe it is if you think about cybersecurity, which I'm not a cyber professional, so if you ask me anything technical, you're going to go right over my head really quick, but hopefully I have something to add today. But at Dell, we have cybersecurity, we have product and application security, and the easiest way to think of it is anything related to security beyond that probably falls within my organization. So global security, resiliency, which is business continuity, crisis management, disaster recovery, governance. I run the insider risk program for the company, internal investigations, external investigations, and just a whole host of those things associated with security. So I ended up at Dell after a long storied career through, some fairly sizable companies in similar roles. But what I've realized over this time is there's such a convergence now of all things security that companies that are running holistically converged security organizations that combine things like cyber, product and application, and all of my remit have a very holistic approach of how we really go tackle some of the problems that we all up here hope that you all will be tackling for us over the next several decades. So I just spent 30 years in the industry in working in big companies and learning as much as I can along the way.
Tony Benson, we already did my intro earlier, but I do cyber defense or cyber education and training. And so what I do is help build or facilitate cybersecurity training across all of the federal government, but also we have some outreach that we do in K-12 and also in underserved communities, underrepresented communities within cyber. So we provide grants and resources to organizations that are community-based, targeting those organizations, are targeting those audiences.
So my name is Mecca Nachetta. Nobody calls me by my full name. They just say Mecca. Feel free to do the same. I am part of Amazon, and my particular part in Amazon is Amazon Web Services, AWS. I am in a team that we call it assurance. So if you get involved in cybersecurity, you'll hear the word compliance and assurance quite a bit. Our team assures, which means that we make sure that Amazon is indeed compliant across the globe with all regulations and standards before we launch a data center or launch one of our geographic or regional zones. So what that means simply is our team has the great task of making sure that before anyone uses us, we're safe for use, right? My role within that is, we call it RISE. It's the Regulatory Industry Security Engagement Team. And what that means is that we go out and we figure out very quickly whether it's a standards conversation, a regulatory conversation, conversations with certain customers that are deemed necessary to have a higher level of communication with, We are the ones that will go tackle some of that conversation with them, make sure that they are up to date with regards to what we call shared responsibility model in the cloud, which is a conversation very simply put, customers own data, we own the actual infrastructure. We want to make sure customers understand how that relationship works. So that is a little bit about what I do.
All right. So my name is Alex Freshley, and I am in the TA program. So if any of you guys have spoken to the wonderful people over here at the TA desk, you know that we have a rotational program, and this is actually my fourth and final rotation in the program. I've held multiple positions in the program, my last two being in cyber. The third rotation was the cyber threat intelligence analyst position that I held, my favorite by far, and hopefully we're all final place after this last one. My current one is in VM, which is vulnerability management for those that don't know, specifically infrastructure security. And we essentially just disseminate information regarding vulnerabilities and patches that need to be updated for servers and various devices in our network. Prior to being on VM, I initially thought that VM patched everything themselves, vulnerability management, they fixed all of the issues. That's not the case. We're simply the information spreaders, you could say. So we kind of just contact the application contact, let them know about any particular patches or updates that need to be applied, and apply those set updates. And yeah, that's essentially what I do in a nutshell.
So now we're gonna stay with you and go back down the other way, down the panel. What do you like most about working in cyber? When you think about just your day-to-day tasks, like what is it that attracted you and keeps you in the field?
Honestly, one thing that definitely stands out to me is like the inherent quote-unquote danger, right? So just being involved in the cyber threat landscape, you see a lot of interesting things, especially in my last rotation where I was on the CTI team. We had access to a couple of tools, Recorded Future and Flashpoint, to name a few, that would give us insight and analytics based on things that occurred in our network, various anomalies, as well as like Flashpoint, for example. We were able to reach out to like dark web chat rooms and things like that. So
what is a dark web chat room for anybody here who doesn't know what that is? Who knows what the dark web is?
I hope all of you.
Good.
If not, you're in for a long ride. Anyway,
yeah.
So.
What is a dark web chat room? What's going on there?
So most of the chat rooms would typically be in either like Telegram or WhatsApp or something like that. A lot of them were like crypto scams and like the general hoopla. But occasionally we'd find stuff that was like Ukraine or Russia based. So on the CTI team, we would typically make like presentations to upper management regarding like data breaches, threat actors, which are like hackers and hacking groups, APT groups.
What's APT stand for?
Active persistent threat groups. These are all usually groups of hackers based out of various countries, North Korea, Iran, China, places like that, Russia. And we would typically take that information and just spread it to upper management. So we would have threat brief presentations to like our CISO, Upendra, great guy. He just got onto the team onto the company a few months ago, I believe. And yeah, just generally disseminating information in general. So
sounds exciting to me. Mecca, and I'm sorry, Wesley is tomorrow.
What was that?
No, I introduced Mecca as Wesley. Wesley's his colleague, is going to be with us speaking tomorrow. What keeps you in security and what do you like about it the most?
So I didn't answer that question completely the first time around, so I'll do a little bit of that too here. Good. I got into cyber. I've been practicing tech in various forms for close to 23 years. And I started when there were some weird things called programs that no longer really exist for the general public to use in the way they used to be. So things like you might be learning right now, if you're in cyber, if you're in InfoSec, or just information systems, Pascal and Fortran and some old system called COBOL, stuff like that, that allowed you to understand the actual computer you're working with, right? A lot of what we see today, going back to some APT conversations, is based on resource use, right? And you don't know what the resource is, then you may not know what it's being used for. And if you don't know what it's being used for, it could be leveraged for something you don't want it to be leveraged for, which creates problems, right? Problems necessarily bad ones for everybody, but problems that could become something bigger. So when I got pulled in, if you will, into cyber conversations, initially I started with GRC, which is governance, risk, and effectively,
Compliance.
what was that?
You said governance, risk, and
Oh,
I said compliance.
So we just say governance, risk, but GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. And ultimately, I got pulled in on a project at a little school called Harvard, and they were trying to move from this really old system called BES. Anyone ever heard of BlackBerry? So BlackBerry, as they used to call it, Crackberry, was the thing, right? And then this little thing called an iPhone was coming about. All those things that pretty much 90% of you probably have in your hands or pockets right now. And they wanted to move away from BES servers or BlackBerry to iPhone. And they wanted to do this thing called BYOD, bring your own device. And they asked me to get involved in this thing, and I was saying to myself, first of all, are they talking about beer? Because I was BYOB, right? Bring your own beer. And then secondary, I was going, what is an iPhone? Because it was that new that it wasn't as popular a thing yet for the market. But I worked on this project, and what I got to learn very quickly is that there's a lot of information out there, and that you, each of us, has a responsibility to either helping make sure that's good information or bad information. It's an old term that we use saying garbage in, garbage out, right? Which means you can put in good information and it will help you, or you can put in bad information and it could really cause problems. And so I learned in a long 6-month process, which was just the start of the GRC project, how much we as people affect our own security, our own computer use. And once I learned that, I wanted to dig deeper. And so for me, every day when I get out an opportunity to really talk to a customer or talk to a partner, it's all about that conversation on how can I help minimize our risk? How can I help everyone in here leverage better secure practices? And more importantly, in AWS, how can I mitigate folks from making misconfigurations that will cause security risks for all of us?
I think for me, one of the things that's really interesting is that anything that you're interested in, you probably could take that thing and apply cyber to it. So it's ever changing. I had a job one time where I was working on automobile cybersecurity. So really looking at the automobile. So your cars basically now are just computers. And so we were dissecting and looking at the car to see how we could help mitigate against some threats from anybody being able to take control of your car while you're driving, so on and so forth. So I think you could take any topic, video games, whatever the thing is that you're really interested in, and you can put cyber on top of that, and there is a career field out there that cyber is going to touch around it. So I think the fact that it's ever changing and it applies to just about everything, if not everything, directly, indirectly. So that's what I like about it, is that you can kind of have your pick of what you want to do. I think being in the military gets me antsy. So after about 4 years, I need some kind of change, or I need to, learn something new. So that's the piece of cybersecurity I really like.
Yeah, I would say, so again, not a cyber professional, but I feel cyber creeping into my organization from all aspects. So whether it's, we do things like, we sell equipment to governments, and these governments operate in really dangerous places in the world, and our employees have to go install equipment, service equipment. So if I'm sending somebody into Somalia, I've got a team of people that make that happen in a safe and efficient manner. So we're enabling the business to go places that are really dangerous in the world. Well, has that got a huge cyber nexus to it? Not necessarily, but I also have a fraud team and an insider risk team and a disaster recovery governance team that are all things technical. So if you think ransomware, our fraud team, very complex from a cyber and information perspective. I've talked to a lot of people today asking questions about data analytics and data science. So we have very complex teams that run, data lakes. We create APIs to pull in information from all parts of the company, from our sales, outward-facing sales platforms, and use tools like Splunk to bring, holistic sets of data together that shows us, the actual, the attack surface, and how are these criminals perpetrating crimes against Dell, and that seems very, at face value, very old school detective type work, and it is really super advanced analytical work that occurs that allows us to continue to protect the company while we're also protecting employees and travelers and third parties and all the like. So to me, every day is, I mean, it's alphabet soup for me. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I look at my phone, see what went really bad in the world overnight, and then go figure out what is the rest of my day going to look like. And Fridays, we call it Flaming Football Friday, because for whatever reason, all the bad stuff really happens on Friday afternoons, and we have a weekend of work ahead of us. But super challenging, super engaging. Cyber is creeping in everywhere. Analytics is creeping in everywhere, and that is a great thing, because we move mountains with technology, with our cyber partners, our threat intelligence partners. I run a threat intelligence team in a fully converged organization, and we partner with our cyber threat intelligence folks every day, day in, day out. We produce converged products that talk very holistically across the whole landscape that we deal with. So it's they're super cool jobs. I think you made a great point. Don't think just cyber. Think about everything security, knowing that cyber fits in there in 100 different ways.
Does everybody know what some of these terms are that have been used today? We heard threat intelligence. Does everybody know what that is? If not, we can talk about it. That's why we're here. You want to give us a basic definition of threat intel?
You take the cyber side, I'll take my side.
There you go.
Really holistic view.
So in a nutshell, threat intelligence is essentially just gathering information about varying threats in the cyber threat environment. So, for example, like Recorded Future, one of the tools that we use, we had threat maps that would kind of map out the likelihood of a threat actor attacking us and how they would do it based on varying variables. And that's just one tiny little piece of threat intelligence, but without overwhelming you guys, that's essentially one aspect of it.
And you take, so kind of physical threat intelligence and cyber threat intelligence, you strip the two first terms out of that, and it's threat intelligence, same concepts. So I operate a fusion center, one out of Austin, Texas, Cork, Ireland, Cyberjaya, Malaysia, and we just shut down one in Bangalore, India. But these are teams of folks that they know where every Dell asset sits from a building perspective, a people perspective. You know, lots of remote work now. We have a duty of care to ensure people are safe in their work environments that now extend all the way into their home. I'm responsible for travelers globally. So and even our critical third-party assets, our cargo in motion we're responsible for. All of that is information, and all that is a very broad attack surface. And then the intelligence that we gather around all that, we make decisions off. So whether it's a natural disaster, it's a terrorist event, whatever it is, you know, we have the ability to understand what are the holistic impacts to Dell, not only our assets, our people, our travelers, our third parties, our supply chain. And it's this threat intelligence piece that allows us to do that very effectively. And how we partner with our cyber threat intelligence teams is creating a holistic view, because there could be a cyber threat that the intelligence team picks up that has a physical nexus to it. So we create a combined intelligence product that we disseminate so the businesses can consume it in business language and then make decisions based on the information that we've provided them.
And Lisa, can I just add one thing? So threat intelligence is what I did before I became a manager. Now I just supervise people. But yeah, but one of the things I wanted to say is that I've historically found that, and I know we have mixed majors in here, that people that come from psychology backgrounds tend to do well in threat intelligence, just building out those profiles and things like that. And people that are really into like data analytics also do pretty well in those threat intelligence type of career fields. So don't always think that you have to be a cyber major. Psychology, you know, some of those other skill sets are really helpful when it comes to doing threat analysis.
And I would find, I mean, and that's a great point, tenacity, drive, you know, those things will never go out of vogue. So from a lot of the work that we do from an investigative perspective, a threat intelligence perspective, it's just a dogged desire to get to a great end result, and you never give up. And if you have that mentality, you don't have to be a cyber expert. I know a chief information security officer of a major global company that has a degree in history. And he will say, I don't care what your degree is, show me how you've progressed in your career, doggedly going after certifications, and how much passion do you have? So passion is key to everything.
Yeah, I will say that for cyber and really just technology in general, you really have to be adaptable. You kind of have to be like water. You have to be able to flow. You have to be able to bend without breaking, and you have to be able to fit yourself into the organization in a way that's going to benefit the organization as much as possible. You're no longer an individual. It's about how you can benefit the organization as a whole as much as possible.
We have time for questions. Who's got a question? We'll run a mic over to you.
I swear Lydia just said don't do the no question things. And I'm like,
Exactly. Who's got a question?
hey, I see
Stand
someone
up, give us your name.
Yes.
Or what would you have told your younger self? That's always a...
I would definitely tell my younger self to not be so hard on myself, because in retrospect, I did a lot more than was necessary to get where I'm at. I got my CCNA, my Sec Plus in school before graduating, and I heard that you guys have the opportunity here to get your A Plus, Net Plus, and Sec Plus or something like that. It's like a trio in one course, like 33 days. That is unheard of. Where I went to school at ECU, East Carolina, we didn't have anything like that. They just told us to take the test, and that was it. And you had to teach it to yourself, and that was it. You either failed or you passed, and you paid for it yourself.
And that is still the case at most schools.
Yeah,
You guys
so the
are-
fact that you
you
guys
guys are
have this
really
opportunity
lucky to
is
have that.
unimaginable. Like I can't even begin to describe to you guys how much of an opportunity it is. Me personally, I'm actually going after my CISA Plus, which is an Intel analyst. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going after my CISA Plus right now, and if you are interested in intelligence, like intelligence analyst, that's great certification to go after.
Anybody else want to take that one? Mecca?
Remember that you have a lot of talent already. Most of what we just talked about up here sounds like gobbledygook, right? How many people understood half of what we said? Well, that's good. So all those people that raised their hands, make sure you mentor someone else. That's one of the biggest parts. Get connected with other people in the things that you're really trying to get involved with. When I got involved in information security or information systems, I was a comp sci guy. Computer science was my thing, right? And my professor was like, hey, you should go do a PhD. That immediately turned me off. Because I was saying, I'm not looking to be in school for life. That's what most people I knew who had PhDs were, lifelong students. But hindsight, had I gone and spoken with a mentor about it, I might have completed that PhD and been in a whole different scenario. So make sure you take some time, seek out a mentor, mentors, and get guidance on what your next step should be.
I'm going to plug our mentorship program real quick. Back there, Jessie, she's got a QR code. You can sign up for our mentorship program. You'll be paired with a professional working in security. You fill out a profile, they fill out a profile. It's kind of like Match.com. And then there's calendar integration to help you guys find common times to meet. And then we have 12 suggested agendas for your calls. So it's as structured or unstructured as you want it to be. But there are cybersecurity professionals signed up on that platform right now waiting to talk to you. So see Jesse and take one of those flyers with you, or if you're paperless, just go straight for the QR code right there. Anybody else want to take that last question? What would you have done differently? Or do we want to go to the next question?
What would I have done differently? When I have a passion for something, there's no tomorrow. Act on it. I think about the things that I passed up in my career. Cybersecurity is one. Foreign language is another. It was always, I need to do this. I know I need to do this. But, there's always things that happen in life. Those things will always be there. Those opportunities to capitalize on will not always be there. I missed the boat 10 years ago on cybersecurity. It's worked out okay. However, I also feel like, a bit of luck has played into that as well, because the world around me is changing and changing dramatically. It's probably good for me that I'm old, so I won't have this long of time to struggle through, a second career of learning something really complex. but that won't exist for everybody in this room. So I would, cyber's your thing now. What is the next thing? And when that passion strikes you, go after it, because if you wait, it will go by you and you'll lose that opportunity. That's what I would do.
Next question over there.
Yeah, so my name is Michael. I'm a freshman here. My major computer science. So when you guys earlier mentioned about the threats in cybersecurity, dark web chat rooms, and the stakes of it all, whether it be a regular scam or something that could do with the Ukraine situation, how in general do you handle the pressure of dealing with that problem?
I guess this is mine. So typically, well, the great thing about working in an organization is you're never the only person on a team. So you have a team of people to consult. No one person knows everything, and so that's the great part about having a team is you have varying perspectives on things. So there were times where in my rotation, I thought something was the end of the world, and I'd send to the team like, guys, what do we do about this? And it would be like the most obscure piece of data possible that nothing, like the fraud team couldn't do anything about it, AppSec didn't care about it, no one cared, there was just nothing that could be done about it. And realistically, there are going to be situations and scenarios like that where like data may be leaked, something may be accessed, and realistically not a whole lot can be done about it aside from patching it and making sure it just doesn't happen again. Contacting anyone that may be owning the data, like I remember there were a few times where like client data was either stolen or found on the dark web somewhere, and we'd have to report it to fraud or incident response or something like that. And they might reach out and contact the owner of those credentials or whatever. But outside of that, outside of notifying that person that their account has been compromised or whatever, there's essentially not a whole lot that can be done. So realistically, sometimes you have to just acknowledge that you're a person, and people can only do so much. So you can't put blame on yourself all the time, especially as an individual when you're a part of a team.
So I want to add something to that for you. Remember that as you go through life, I think a couple times it's been mentioned, things will happen, things will continue to happen. You have to recall in your own moments that you're human, that you have a mind, and you have the ability to take a moment, pause, and just, hey, I'm okay. What next steps can I take to make sure that the right people, the right resources are being leveraged to tackle this problem? He just went through that from a very technical perspective as like an SOP, which is basically a standard operating procedures. But a lot of this is thinking out the box, right? Thinking outside the box, making sure that you're just pliable, agile in the way that you behave, in the way that you think. And as a comp sci major, for all those people who are computer science majors, cyber is, you're going to go down the route of being a software engineer, typically, if you're doing computer science, because that's coding. But if you want to explore further, be open to looking at the other aspects. Someone mentioned someone had a history degree and is a CISA. I know people with music degrees that are in cyber, right? Don't be afraid to challenge yourself outside the things that you believe is necessary to get there. So that's all part of the whole process of handling tough situations.
I think you're in a very natural place in life. Coming into something new, coming into your career, these things are unsettling, they're new, don't have a ton of confidence, in certain particular aspects. That comes with time, and it comes with being close to mentors and having great leaders that they put you in positions where you can be successful, but you're stretched. And that stretch is what gets you conditioned to that kind of gut feeling of, can I do this or can I not? If a leader puts you in a position where you have no chance for success, rightfully so, you should have those gut feelings, and rightfully so, you should probably be looking for a new leader, because that's just fundamentally unfair. But you get conditioned to these things over time, and particularly the environments that we work in. Like my team, we wound down, we were responsible from a crisis management perspective for Dell. We were winding down COVID, which was super stressful for major global corporations, right as we ramped up the Ukraine-Russia response, because we had operations and people in both places. So, people ask me, quite often in situations, we're sitting in the war rooms, and, to me it's just another day, and the rest of the room doesn't look so good. It looks a bit queasy, and these are really senior folks. And it's just the environment that you've operated in over extended period of times. You get used to it. So being in those environments, you get conditioned, but have mentors. Make sure you're in the right You're being put in the right situations. And if you're not, speak up. If you're not comfortable with your skills or your confidence and somebody puts you in something that, like, you know, there's meaning to it, whether it's, you know, you're tackling a new vulnerability picked up by the threat hunting or threat intel team, or you're running a crisis. If you're not comfortable, you know, tell somebody, because there's always help, there's always teams, and you don't need to feel like you're standing on an island. Confidence will come with time.
Good afternoon. I have a question for the panel. Obviously, there's there was numbers that were thrown out earlier about 9% of your workforce being from minorities, be it African American, whatever. Well, I shouldn't say minorities, because I know the field is, but African Americans. What would you say is the reason why that is, and how do you debunk some of the myths as to why this field isn't growing in those communities?
I'll take this or start with this one. So in the spirit of Women Histories Month, I think that one of the things, like I said earlier, with women, a lot of times we count ourselves out before we even get started and feel as though we have to have the full qualification spreadsheet before we can even apply to a job, which is untrue. At the end of the day, people are looking for a good cultural fit for their organization, and they will teach you the skill sets that you need to know. I think another thing is that we need to do more outreach as a cybersecurity community and be more intentional. So if the majority of your workforce looks like white males, and then the job is announced on just your webpage or your LinkedIn page, you're probably going to attract the people that you've historically worked with or connected with. So again, how do we connect to people who wouldn't otherwise understand or know that these opportunities are available? And I think a lot of times, I tell people this all the time, young women that I mentor, you were enough the moment you came into this world. So everything else is just extra and bonus that you go through and you learn and you pick up in life, but you were already enough the moment you were brought into this world. So I think if you walk around with that understanding that everything else in life is just a bonus or a cherry on top or something extra added to you, I think it gives you a little bit of that confidence. Daily affirmations, whatever the things are you need to do, but just making sure that you know that you already have and possess what you need to be successful.
And I'll add to that, great points in terms of, especially for the women's side of things. I'm a major advocate for women in cyber, for women in technology as a whole. Technology has been it's a very old practice. Started out with very little input from most of the population, and it continues to go that way in some regards. And so for your particular ask, I look at it from this purview. I'm thankful to see as many people here who have taken the step to be in computer science or to be part of information anything regarding technology. That needs to be something that more people aspire to, and that needs to be something encouraged by the community. It can't just be, hey, go get a job, or hey, I think you'd be great for this business thing, whatever that business thing is. Be okay with, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to get stretched. You're going to have to do calculus 3. You're going to have to work on some algorithms. What are algorithms? Well, you're going to have to figure that out, and that's okay, right? And I want you to also be mindful of the fact that it's also opportunity. Here, Fayetteville is doing a great job, and I will give kudos to that. I've seen some things today that I'm very thankful to have seen, especially in terms of what you're doing for your cyber lab and the programs that are underfoot. But it's also access. Here at AWS, for instance, we've recognized that to be something necessary. We developed skill centers. We have skill centers where people can just literally walking off the street and learn about the cloud in a game type environment, in a home type environment, without paying a cent. And we're trying to set up more of those across the globe because we recognize that, especially in communities that are underserved, in populations that are underserved, they have none of those accesses. That's why we've given up all of our cloud certs in terms of the language and the database and all the learnings behind that for free. Because we recognize if we have a deficit in cyber, in technology, and even more so in the cloud, how are they going to learn if they have to pay $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for that, right? So I believe Tony mentioned it earlier in her multiple ones before. go look for those free stuff. There's so much of it. I didn't have any of this when I was growing through the coins and coins and dollars that I had to pay to learn a bit of these things. You have it for free. YouTube, tons of data. AWS, Azure, Dell even has certain things that I know they give away for free. So go look it out, go look for it, and then use it. And that's what I believe is part of the issue. Community's not really pushing it, right? Acceptance of the fact that it's tough, but it still needs to be done. And then people really being engaged and saying, I want to see what I can do in this field.
I would add, I think about my own journey, and, 15 years ago, before LinkedIn was a big thing, you hired from your network, and I think corporations are awake. Tons of progress is being made. Events like this, super critical to continue. But my favorite boss of all time was an African American gentleman that I love dearly to this day. And he told me, he said, Tim, you need to think differently about how you hire. And this was literally at least 15, if not 20 years ago. He said, you hire from your network, and guess what? Your network looks just like you. He said, frankly, I hire from my network, and it looks a lot like me. He said, until you think differently about your network, nothing will never change. I think this 9% is because people like me, 20 years ago, we hired from our network. We hired from who we know, and it's manifested itself to the measurements that we have today. And so now is the time, and we're behind the curve, but changing our networks. Like, I've got so many new people on my LinkedIn profile now, and I think that's awesome, because without the focus and the effort and going to do that, it will never naturally happen. So I think it is incumbent on people like me that have hiring authority over across 24 hiring managers to make sure that that's the way they think and that's the way that they act. I accept nothing less in that space from them. And the more that we can get on board with that and do that with rigor, the number 9 won't be 9 tomorrow. It'll be 9 tomorrow, but it shouldn't be 9 next year. And 20 years from now, is it 40, is it 50? Whatever the number is what it should be.
I think Tim just asked you to link to him on LinkedIn. I think that's what that. All right, I want to thank all of our panelists today for being up here. Thank you, Mecca, Alex, Tim, and Tony. And I'm going to hand it over to Justin, and he's going to tell you how that wristband is going to turn into lunch for you.
Thank you. Give a round of applause for everybody that was on stage today. A round of applause for my boss, Lisa Plagmar, also too, who helped moderate the panel. To close this out really quickly, one, if you don't have a wristband, get a wristband outside. We have Chick-fil-A downstairs for you all, Chick-fil-A sandwiches and chips, and half-gallon tea and lemonade mix. So make sure you get that. Just to close it out with a quick little statement, you got all this information today. Take this information, run with it. You heard this, meet with these employers as you until 2:30, 3 o'clock, and just make sure that whatever you have, make sure whatever you get, take that knowledge and utilize it now so you can get yourself prepared for the real world, right? This industry is hiring. I'm here for a reason today. When I started, what I say, I'm on a mission to get Black students jobs, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm on a mission to help these schools get jobs. All right? See yourself in cyber. We'll see you. Thank you.